Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today let's make a wiffle ball hoodie. This hoodie is one of the Buffalo brand hoodies from Costco. And it's from this year, so it's from 2024, and they've changed them just a little bit. Instead of putting the front pocket, they've placed 2 pockets on the sides. But the fabric content is the same. It is 70% viscose, 16% cotton, 11% polyester, and 3% elastane. I didn't have a container large enough to hold the hoodie where I could rack dye it. So I'm using my container that I made to do sheets in. It's a plastic tote, which I've drilled holes in the bottom to allow the dye or the muck to drain out. Then I'm going to place this container down inside of another container, and I'm placing an upside down basket underneath it to keep it out of the muck. So if you're wondering what the term muck means, it is just the term used for the runoff from the melting ice that's mixed with the dye. Down in the bottom of this container, I'm going to place some wiffle balls, and I'm going to place several sizes of wiffle balls. The ones that I placed in first are softball size wiffle balls, and then the bright green ones are all baseball size. Then I'm going to place the hoodie inside, and I'm going to kind of wrap the fabric around the wiffle balls. The wiffle balls are going to give some dimension to the fabric. So whenever I pour the ice on top, it's going to help keep the fabric from just collapsing, because these hoodies are really, really soft. So if I just kind of crinkled up the fabric, placed it inside of this container, and then poured a whole bunch of ice over the top, the fabric is just going to kind of collapse. The wiffle balls are going to give a little bit of dimension. By the way, I have this hoodie turned inside out. I know sometimes I turn them inside out and sometimes I don't when it comes to hoodies. I'm going to show you with this particular hoodie one reason why I kind of mix it up sometimes. Remember, I told you what the fabric content was of this hoodie. It's mainly viscose and cotton. So it's 70% viscose and 16% cotton. So 86% of this hoodie is going to dye up really nicely. The rest of it is polyester, 11%, and 3% elastane. Well, the elastane is just the stretchiness, and it's, the stretchiness around the cuffs and around the hem. The polyester is mainly what the inside of the fabric is made out of. So the fuzzy part that's up next to your body when you're wearing it. So right now, when you're looking at the hoodie, you're looking at the fuzzy part, and that part is not going to dye. So whenever you turn these inside out, sometimes it's a little difficult to see what's actually going on with the hoodie when you apply the dye, because you're seeing a part of the hoodie that's not going to dye. Okay, so now that I have the hoodie inside, I have all the wiffle balls I'm going to use. Next, I'm going to add a layer of ice to the top of the hoodie. And I'm going to add quite a bit of ice, because when I do a technique like this, I really don't like to go back and add more ice. Now, I will if I need to, but I prefer to go ahead and just do one layer of ice and then let the dye flow from there. I get these little bags of ice from Whole Foods whenever I go and purchase things there. So I usually just take them, throw them in the freezer, and use them on projects like this. So I have a whole bunch of these little bags that I'm using. Then I'm also going to use some regular bagged ice. For this hoodie, I've chosen 3 great color splitters from Dharma. 2 of them are special order colors, and you can still get those from Dharma, but you would have to buy them in large quantities. Otherwise, you can usually find them on Facebook at a group called Tie-Dye Supplies Marketplace. People purchase the large quantities of the dye, then repackage them down into smaller quantities to sell. I've left a link to that Facebook group down below this video in the description. So the 3 colors I'm using are Black Cherry, which is just a regular Dharma color, then Dusty Rose and Vintage Red. And the Dusty Rose and Vintage Red are both the special order colors. I'm going to randomly apply them over the top of the ice. Now I'm going to add a little bit of additional dry soda ash over the top of the dye, just to make sure that whenever this ice melts and it runs through this hoodie, it doesn't rinse out all the original soda ash that I had in the hoodie from the original soak. The fiber reactive dye that I use needs soda ash to raise the pH so that the dye will bond properly with the fabric. So I want to make sure I do have soda ash in my hoodie. I've included some process photos so you can see what the hoodie looked like as the ice melted. You can also see sitting on top of some of these wiffle balls a few little speckles of dye, and that's one of the main reasons why I turn items inside out whenever I apply the dye, is so that any of those little speckles will be caught on the inside of the garment. Now, it doesn't always work because if the speckles or the little blobs are too large, they're still going to go through to the front side, but it does help. After all the ice melted, I left the hoodie and allowed it to process for about 48 hours before I rinsed it out. And to rinse it out, I took it to my utility sink and I started rinsing it in cold water to rinse out the soda ash. Then I warmed the water up to hot and I continued rinsing in hot water to try to rinse out the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric. Instead of rinsing for a long time, I went ahead and soaked the hoodie. And I did that by running some really hot water in my utility sink, adding a little bit of Blue Dawn dish soap to the water, placing the hoodie inside, and just allowing it to soak. When the water cooled off, I changed it out, and I continued that soaking process until my water was remaining almost clear. Then I placed the hoodie, along with some Dharma's professional textile detergent, into my washing machine, and I washed it using a hot water cycle. Okay, so I have washed, dried, and ironed the hoodie, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think? So you can definitely tell where I put the larger wiffle balls. Those are those big bursts that you see on the shirt or the hoodie. I kind of think with some of the darker little blobs in there, they almost look like poppies to me. And I think that's kind of fun. So if you'll notice when I turned the hoodie the right way, how much different it looks than it looked in the last photos right before I rinsed it. It is much brighter, and I don't have quite as much color in a few areas as I was expecting to have. I do have a little bit more, white space down toward the bottom part of the hoodie and up on the back of the hooded part. As far as the colors, I love these colors. I think they split really well. I have lots of cool color splits. I've got greens and yellows and blues, obviously pinks and reds. I do have several little blobs though, like pretty big speckles of color. Up on the hood, I have some pretty good speckles of yellow. And then I have a little bit of just smaller areas of dye down toward the bottom part of the hoodie. Now, those are not exactly speckles. They're just smaller bits of dye. And so they just kind of blend in with the rest of the hoodie, which I think looks really good. This fabric dyes up really nicely. As I mentioned earlier, like 86% of the fabric took the dye really nicely. And then you saw what the inside was. It doesn't dye, but you're not really going to see that part unless you have your hood down. So for the most part, I really like this hoodie. I think it turned out really pretty. I like the dye flow, and I like the little flower bursts on the hoodie. Truthfully, I think I would have liked it maybe a little bit better if I would have used a different color palette. I was trying to use reds that split really well, but with the big bursts, I don't know, it kind of almost looks a little bit like a crime scene. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it looks pretty like poppies, or do you think crime scene when you look at it? I don't know. Please drop me some comments down below and let me know. And if you've enjoyed watching the video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'll hit the bell, you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.